A good afternoon to everybody. A good afternoon in Europe, a good morning in the US, a good evening in Asia. Welcome to the first Areopa webinar, the following up of NAV skills. We're happy to be able to continue this, and today we'll start with the first webinar with the title How I Learned NAV in a Few Months. We've been very happy to have a team from the Global Mediator in Ukraine, Nicolai Krarup, the CAO of Global Mediator, Evgeny Buriak, the development and delivery manager, if I'm right, but correct me later on, please, and Yuriy Popov, who has been a developer, and you could say it's partly his personal story, what we will hear today, but all of three of them will talk to you about the perspective, the whole perspective of what they did to get new people in and have them learn within a reasonable amount of time how to develop in NAV, Business Central. Welcome to you all, and thank you very much for being here. Before we start, a couple of housekeeping rules. Please, your mic is muted and will not be unmuted, but feel free to post questions. We have a questions pane on your, you will have it on your control, and feel free to post questions. I'm your moderator, Luc van Vugt. You might know me from different parts. I've been working with NAV skills for a longer time already, and I'm happy to continue this because it's a very valuable asset to the to our Dynamics Business Central Dynamics NAV community. So if you want to post questions, I will pick them up. I'll be the moderator today, so put them in the GoToWebinar questions window, and if I can answer them, if they're maybe not related to the content, I will give you an answer in the same window, and otherwise I will pose them to the presenters of today. Before we continue really getting into the content, just to share you a couple of things on the social media. You might know or have been accustomed to the recordings. This is being recorded, and previously with the NAV skills webinars, those recordings were being published on Mark's channel. We have set up a new channel at the moment. This is the URL where you will be able to find it. We need a couple of recordings before we can get a dedicated smaller URL, but after today, hopefully this evening already, I will be able to upload it to YouTube. But all the recordings will be there for you to reference them, and of course share them with your colleagues. Spread the word. Areopa Webinars newsletter has been out, but not yet the volume that we were used to in enough skills time. We had then 2,000 subscribers. At the moment we have around about 200 subscribers, so let's grow this community once again to the scale of NAV skills. So spread the word, share this URL with people, and get subscribed to it. Upcoming webinars are listed on our website. This is the website of Areopa. It is something we've been using for a couple of years because we've been organizing workshops here in the Netherlands mainly. But as you can see on the right side, there is always a list of upcoming webinars, and probably we might redo the whole website in the future, but yeah, we need to find time to do that. So spread the word, be welcome for the next webinars. I see that we have been ramping up, so for at the moment we have 37 attendees, so welcome to you all. And before I hand off the presentation or the airtime to our presenters, I want to put an explicit thanks to our sponsor for NAV. They enable us to do this webinar and using the GoToWebinar feature. So thank you for them. And then Global Mediator, I'm going to hand over the airtime to you. So please share your screen and unmute your microphone.
So I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you very clearly, and I will mute my mic in a couple of minutes, or seconds. But yes, I think it's sounding clear, Nicolai.
Okay. So my name is Nicolai Krarup. The idea for this webinar actually came up or was created in our kitchen several months ago when Mark Brummel was visited. And it seemed he liked Yuriy's story, and I don't think Yuriy really realized at the course of the evening what he was getting himself into. So when he woke up the next morning, all of a sudden Evgeny and I were involved. And then Mark stepped out of the ring and Luc took over. So here we are. I will talk a little bit about why we're doing this. Evgeny will talk about how we're doing it. And Yuriy, the main speaker, will talk about his experience going through it. So very quick introduction about me. I don't know how to code anything. My background is business. I'm a Danish national. I've always been involved in technical products and product strategy, but I've been running businesses in Japan, Denmark, Switzerland, US, Canada, and I got into change management and turnarounds, and this brought me to Ukraine in 2011, where I met Evgeny. And we worked together to kick off Global Mediator in 2012, and I'm responsible for operations at Global Mediator. So just to set the scene a little bit, we're not a usual Microsoft partner in the sense that we don't sell a single Dynamics license. To do so would compete with our customer base. We focus on helping financial teams with software engineering. Dynamics is around 2/3 of our business. We're a development house. More than 80% of our people are software engineers by training. Our focus has migrated a little over the year, but today we focus on what I would call stronger Dynamics partners, mostly ISVs, or independent software vendors, and some larger end users that have their own in-house NAV development team, but need engineering help. So we are, for good and bad, blessed with having a group of customers that actually know what good Dynamics code and procedures they look like. And that makes it a little bit of a challenge when you want to train new people, because they would prefer us to clone people. We also have a small challenge in Ukraine, that we have a very sizable footprint where we're based. We are not the largest partner in Ukraine, but we are by far the largest Dynamics NAV development center in Ukraine. And this means that there are not that many places we can go to increase our team. We also have maybe an advantage or disadvantage, but we were an early mover in the sense that when we came back from Directions in 2016, we realized that Microsoft would start tearing the ERP monolith that was Dynamics NAV apart. And we started to think about what a distributed architecture would actually look like. I don't think I got very popular when I came back from that event and said that NAV was dead. I think that's quite sure. But it did make the team think about what the future would look like. It would have been more accurate to say that we were preparing for NAV to be reinvented. And that's kind of where we started, and we realized that that required a different mentality to the way we worked. And having said that, at the same time, we have an advantage compared to many of our customers in the sense that we don't have very much legacy code. So it's easier for us to move people onto new projects and train them on new technologies. And taking that jump becomes a little bit easier when you have a lot of software engineers and very little legacy code. Still, we are stuck in a different game than most partners. We cannot hide towards our customers that we have somebody in learning mode. Our customers are simply too good for that. We cannot rely only on hiring because we grow plus 40% a year, and we cannot find that in the market. And at the same time, as a growing organization, we can't really put people on the bench for 6 months and just train them. And we cannot rely on our business model to stay the same when Microsoft is changing both the Dynamics NAV to BC and a cloud-based software, and they're also changing the TAM. So that is in essence the strategic channels that we decided to address in early 2017. So what we started realizing was that we needed people that could operate without training wheels. We cannot both teach people how to function in a job out of university and how to develop NAV and the BC at the first time. This would not work with our customer base. We have recently made one exception, but that is because he wrote his master thesis on the warehouse module in NAV. Also, we run a very Danish style organization in Kiev. This is one where trust means that people get freedom in return for being responsible. And this is not really the norm in our local area. So it helps us if people have had a different working experience before they join us. And because of that, we prefer to look out and find people that have maybe 3-4 years work experience on other technologies than Business Central and NAV, and then bring them on board. Also, we need people that are technology savvy. We prefer that they have a technical background and they have touched transactions in one form or another, but other backgrounds will do. We've hired people with strong financial backgrounds and a technical mindset and a desire to learn how to develop. And this works surprisingly well because they have a really good understanding of the use case. But unless people have proven that they have the master or they have the ability to understand a skill or learn a new skill themselves, then we simply cannot push them into shape, right? They have to be the main driver of their own future. And this is even if we give them the platform. We want to focus on newer versions of Dynamics 365 Business Central. Yes, we give people a tour around the older version so they understand the history of the great application they work on, but the focus is on new technologies. And also we have found that newer people, they adjust to newer technologies a little bit faster than people who already have the old habits from Seaside. They more easily adapt to the new norm, that not every problem in the world is something that you can call or solve by taking your NAV tool hammer out of the box. It is simply easier for them to apply Docker, Git, event-based architecture, extensions, Azure functions, Python, etc. Because they're not used to the old ways of doing things. So if we get the balance right, the nice part for us is that their curiosity, their drive and their questions then help to drive the rest of the organization forward and learn new things. And luckily we are, it looks like, not the only one who thinks like this. One of Evgeny's former colleagues sent us this statement about how he looks at it. And it is really that in order to accelerate what we're doing on Business Central, we also need to change our skills and bring some new people that are passionate about this and willing to reinvent these business applications. So we agree with him that we think that business applications are cool again. And we're lucky that they are cool again, because that makes it easy, or not easy, but easier for us to attract people. And unless Luc have questions or comments, then I will hand over the next stage to Evgeny at this point in time.
No, there are no questions at the moment, so feel free to continue.
Okay, thank you, Nicolai. And hello, everybody, and thanks a lot for joining this great webinar. My name is Evgeny Buriak, and I am the delivery manager for the Global Mediator company, and I've been working with NAV for 14 years plus. My main focus is, of course, the processes in the company and the quality of deliverables we're doing for partners. With my portion of slides, I'd like, that's kind of a mixture of the theory and practical stuff about the teaching methods, and we'll look at the methodologies, approaches. Of course, we'll cover the real life process example, what we've implemented here in the company, and followed by our experience in figures, numbers, as for the teaching and educational process here we have. So while preparing information and materials there for the slides, then I came across a couple of nice inspirations. And of course, there are much more there existing in the world, and other, different companies implementing different or following different examples or inspirations. But I come across these three at least, so it's not that really a long story. So the first one in the list is Montessori, and the main principle here is, of course, freedom and observations. Then another one is Waldorf's approach. So don't mix it with the Waldo. I think it's nothing in common between these two. The main principle here is the real life orientation, and to prepare students for the real life challenges. And it's not the traditional way of learning or of training people, students. And last not least here in the list is the Harkness method, which is based on the roundtables discussion with the individual approach. And again, it's like not the traditional lecturing way of doing things. So as you can see, there are common moments here among all these three, which is a practical approach that's student-oriented, and it's giving some freedom, and of course mentored and observed by more experienced NAV developers. And if you are talking about NAV. Then with these slides of different kind of methodologies, I want to say that Global Mediator is at the right top corner, and the main keywords here is it is personalized, it is inquiry based, and with this approach, actually the teacher is to just coach and facilitate. And of course, it is high tech section, because we are all living in IT world, and NAV is moving more and more to high technologies. They are using the cloud technologies and the mobile tablet and all this surroundings. So, and the teaching approaches I combine into these categories. So one could be just the theory driven only, which is basically just spend a lot of time reading a lot of manuals and a lot of pages of wide range of modules there in NAV. Again, if you're speaking about NAV, which might not all of them just be used somewhere in real world projects. So in some months or years time, then it might be forgotten, and no billable work actually for quite a long time, and no experience in working in a team. So the alternative way would be just practice-driven approach, where the students just been thrown into the water basically, with the only resource, the materials and the education resource as Mibuso, and as a result, it might lead to self-made decisions, which might mislead, and it is based on the wrong. Sometimes it is based on the wrong assumptions. It is not mentored, and that would require some re-education there in the future. What we at Global Mediator actually suggesting to do is like a good mixture of course, theory and practice. I would emphasize just a couple of keywords here, which is practice-oriented. It is supported by manuals and guidelines. It is mentored by more experienced guys, and it is surrounded good experienced enough NAV team with a wide, a range of experience and skills in different modules and doing different projects. So that's the main principles. And here we come to the real life example, what we've implemented in the company, and that's like a working model. Before jumping into these steps, so there is the prerequisites where it is highly recommended so that the students are of good financial or technical background with basic understanding of transactions, and that should be the experienced team around just helping solving questions actually faster than just reading manuals. In our real case scenario, then we assigned a training project for the student where we have very well described requirements with clear goals, what to achieve at the end. And the duration for the project we set as about 3-4 weeks. Of course, in parallel, as again, I said, as the keywords, like it's supported. It is supported by, of course, manuals and guidelines from Microsoft, so that we are doing development and programming just the right way from the very start. Then, of course, surrounded a very good and experienced group of people helping each other. So we have a good culture, I think, just to share knowledge around being in open office and always open to help. And mentored by the one of the leads or seniors here in the company, being available actually for, if you ask me about the statistics, there is 1-2 hours a week availability of the guy just to help solving again questions faster. Then after completing this project, which is 3-4 weeks, we came to a partially billable project, which we defined as the Kanban-based methodology, working in the team, because it's easier to be supported by the group of people who are actually familiar with the concrete customer case. Then there is the backlog of tickets being just picked up by this newbie. And of course, starting with simple and then gradually coming to more heavily, technically challenging tasks. In this particular case, there was 1-2 months period, just getting this nice experience, and it is partially billable, which is very good. And as you can see, after 1 month of this training project, supported and mentored, the students just becoming partially billable, which is good for the company economy. Then after this, we come to the available internal project, and in our case it was integration, and we recommended to be integration because it actually touches some technologies and skills and experience that the student just got before joining NAV world. Such as Python, regular expressions, .NET, in a very good combination with NAV development, NAV programming. And then in this case, there was 2 weeks, and again, surrounded and supported and mentored. That's actually important as one big line across the whole process of education. And as the last step, of course, it's the fully billable project, where in our case it was BC and extensions involving, of course, the senior guy just to be as a team member, and that's still ongoing. So it's really a successful case in this scenario. So from
Evgeny,
our
could I pose a couple of questions related to your previous slide?
Sure.
In the sense of from left to right, if you this is technical people, developers. How often do you find them with financial, or how easily do you find them with financial prerequisites so that they already know about that? Is that an easy one?
Basically, not very much, but still traditionally we in Ukraine, our companies here we're using the another ERP software called 1C.
Yeah.
Where the principles and all this financial, transaction stuff, then it's quite similar to what we have in NAV. And most of our companies, I think, running it in 1C, so it's easier to find the specialists with the background. It's more complex with the technical skills rather than functional and financial, but yeah. So.
Yeah. And regarding the Kanban tickets, do you pre-select a number of them from your whole sea of tickets to be picked up by the students or the people following?
Yes, we are sorting it, of course, and filtering, and we are planning our sprint and making the backlog just ready for the juniors as well. So we pre-selecting it, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
So bringing some figures and numbers as of our experience in Global Mediator is that we trained 8 people, including 1 QA, 3 fully billable still working with us, and 2 currently in training as we speak, then 2 unfortunately relocated abroad, but still doing Dynamics, and we hope to get them back to Ukraine at least, to the company, would be good. Then 1 left Dynamics area and just decided, joined something that really it was hard to beat. And we're still hiring the trainees then for autumn, and we'll continue doing that because we believe that the process is quite working based on these statistics. So yeah, that was my part. It's all. If no further questions then from you, Luc, then I will pass the microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will pass the microphone to Yuriy Popov. So, welcome.
Yes, thank you. And hello there. How's it going, everybody? Firstly, let me thank to all people who have made this webinar happening. Normally, I was a spectator on the webinars like this one, but I'm very excited to be here as a speaker. And of course, this is a great honor for me. Okay, so how did I learn NAV in a few months? If you want me to give a short answer, it wasn't much of a leap to learn it, and I think it wouldn't be a problem for almost anyone, because NAV is a really nice technology to learn. So having this said, I think this webinar could be wrapped up, but I have a certain time frame, so I'm going to be showing you a couple of more slides. Okay, so let's get on. This is me. My name is Yuriy Popov. I'm a software development engineer at Global Mediator. And I'm in the NAV world since the beginning of 2018. So that means at this moment I've been here for about a year and a half. But also I'm an ERP developer for already 9 years. So a year and a half ago, I switched from 1C or 1S, we call it that. And if you don't know what 1S is, so it is a very popular ERP system in the CIS countries. So, and I'm gonna be comparing this system with NAV just a bit later. Okay, but the last thing here, I'd like to say that as a 1S specialist, I went through getting to a senior developer, and then I started almost from scratch. And I think I didn't lose. Okay, so here's the plan, and it's going to be kind of simple. I have 2 parts here for you, and in the first part, I'm going to be talking about the brightest elements which popped up while I was diving into Navision. And to my mind, my experience worth sharing because I have spent years working with different ERP systems. Okay, so and in the second part, we're going to be coding. I have some modifications for NAV 2018, and those are basically for retrieving weather information. So our task is simple. So we're going to be moving those modifications to an extension for Business Central. Okay, so but we'll get back to this just a bit later. And now let me tell you about my NAV experience. So my first steps were on NAV 2017. It was my first real project, and then I touched NAV 2009, and it wasn't a far too long story, but actually it gave me an idea how Navision evolved for the last years. And eventually I got a project which was basically a migration to Business Central. And there I learned enough to be able to compare ERP system I worked before with NAV. Okay, so if you'd like to compare these two systems on the screen and take a helicopter view, you would probably see something like this. Okay, so I think I should hold on just for a second so that everybody can see this enormous difference on the picture. So now let's go ahead and take a closer look. Of course, there are many common elements here, and obviously both systems are for the same purpose, and it means that almost identical processes should be reflected in your system, and the nature of information you'd like to retrieve is the same as well. Okay, and if you are a developer, you'll find out that there are also many similar things here, and those are events and extensions, right? And of course, it isn't a complete list here. There are a lot of other similar things as well, but now I'm just showing the most vivid for me. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a bit closer look. I would say it's like look through a microscope. And the first thing here is the language typing discipline. So I used to work with a dynamically typed language, and then it was really hard to switch to the static typing. Okay, and next thing is posting routine. The thing is that 1S allows you to undo almost any posted document. At least there's a special routine for doing so. But NAV is completely different thing from this point of view. And yes, it's a very funny thing to explain this difference to anybody from the other system. Okay, so but the last thing here is the development environment, and I'm 100% sure that everybody understands that in 2019, development environment cannot be thought as a modern IDE. Well, of course, you've been working with it for many years. You may not notice that there is high time to move forward. And from my side, it was the hardest thing to get used to, I think. Well, but everything's fine. Actually, the language typing and posting routine and many other things, it was something that I converted to a new experience. And I must say that that experience gave me even better understanding of technology I worked before. And I think, of course, learning makes you more valuable as a professional. Okay, and the last but not least thing here is that NAV as a technology is going through the time of change, and modern development tools replace the old ones. And this brings us to a very important conclusion. I think that now is a very great moment to join the NAV world. Well, okay, so
Yuriy, if I may pose a question,
okay.
You're more or less, let's say your conclusion. If I could get a little bit more detail from you personally, do you say that with your background, having worked in other technologies before, the one you're working on now, so in this Global Mediator setup, you're more challenged and in that sense also more enthused to work on the product by those new technology changes?
You know, I think sometimes you have to just leave your comfort zone, and as I said before on, I think it was previous slide, this new experience gives you, makes you more valuable, and actually it's, I would recommend doing this for every developer I know. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much.
Do we have any questions?
I don't have any other questions, so feel free to continue.
Okay, so now it's demo part. As I said before, I have some modifications for NAV 2018. Let me just close the presentation. I have some modifications for NAV 2018, and those are just for retrieving weather information. So let's go ahead and take a look how it actually works. And I like to remember to remind you that we are going to move this modification to a Docker container. So okay, so let's find out what is the weather today in, for example, USA. Why not? It may take a while. Normally it works faster.
Maybe there are people from US can guess the weather.
Okay, so while it's working, we can just renew our container. So, okay, while it's downloading information, so let's have a look. What do we have here as a prerequisites? So I have two Docker containers. The first is NAV 18, which is actually working right now, and the second is BC target, and this is the place where we'd like to have our modifications. Okay, so let's see. For some reason it doesn't work now. So, okay, perhaps it will work in BC. I think we should start with converting. Actually, I have prepared some parts and export CAL code to AL, and this is our solution here. And if you want to see all changes I've done, that basically I just got rid of all .NET variables and replace those by standard functionality, and basically it uses only HTTP client, HTTP requests, and then parsed response to JSON object. Okay. And here I have some problems to be fixed, and the one is the object range. So as you can see in my app.json file, I have range from 5,100 to 5,149, and here is what I'd like to fix. Okay, so instead of doing this manually, I think we can use regular expressions and see how it will work for us. Okay, so in the search and replace tool, so we just have to make sure that we enable this .asterisk flag and match case flag. And since we are running out of time, I have prepared some snippets file here. So I'm not going to be typing all information in all expressions by my hands, and just copy that from my snippets file here. Okay, so this expression will match all objects, which is table, page, or code unit, or report, with this certain mask of ID. And I'm just going to use back references and fix this. I'm gonna be doing this by this $sign and number of search group. So okay, let's go ahead and do it. So in the preview window, you can probably see that I think it will work for us. So then let's go ahead and replace this all things. Okay, it's done. And actually now we are able to build our solution, but there is another thing which is supposed to be done, and this is the application area property, which is now not set for pages and pages fields. So let me grab these expressions from my snippets file and use it here. So this expression just has found me all occurrences of all places where I should place application area property. I can use this expression for replacing. Okay. And I'm going to be searching only in page files. So it is a filter for file names here on the left side. Okay, so let's see what do we have in our preview window, and I think we should rerun our search. Okay, and I think it's fine. So I'm gonna exclude only this page part from the search results. So okay, let's apply it. I think I should reload my windows. It's there is a weird back for this. Okay, no problem so far, but let me just rerun the search. Okay, I think it is fine. Yeah, so I have to put here usage category. Okay, I have only three errors, so I can do it just manually. Okay. Nothing, there's no need to have this here. Okay, I think now we're all set to have this application built. Yes, package is created, so let's try to publish it to our container. Yes, it may take a while. Okay, finally we are in debug mode. So I guess I hope it will work here. I need to okay, let me just copy all my setups here, just change units of measure and application ID key and endpoint. Okay. So please work. Let's say we'd like to retrieve it for yes.
So Yuriy, in this project, you're combining some of your background knowledge, which you brought in when you joined Global Mediator,
Yes.
with the new technology. Let's say Global Mediator asked you and hired you to work on.
Yes.
In that learning part, how did the two come together? I mean, like Evgeny told about the program, having 3 weeks of self-study, having a couple of weeks working on a number of smaller issues, then getting into an integration project, etc. Where did what you're showing right now come together? Is that at the end of the whole trajectory you went, or was that for you already in between somewhere?
I think it rather was in between, of course. So I got all that experience, in gradual manner. Yeah, I think it will be a short answer for your for your question.
And you have to pay attention to the application.
Yeah. So for some reason, my application, unfortunately, doesn't work. So perhaps it will work for another country. So it just connected to the
close to home.
Sorry?
Close to home, Ukraine, maybe too far away.
Yeah, maybe, but unfortunately, in the Cronus database, I don't have postcode from Ukraine. So I think it won't work. So maybe the service is dead. Let me just check it.
Well, did it work in the old environment?
It actually doesn't work nowhere. Here. Maybe because of network settings. Okay, London, brilliant. Now it works. So here, okay, I have a couple of more minutes for debugging. So let me just rerun my container. So I have an advice. Just let me.
Yeah, not otherwise. Give it one try, and otherwise we'll leave it. It's let's say it's not a debugging session.
Yeah, unfortunately. It worked hundreds of times before, but now
That's always the case.
It's a very important moment. It's just
Murphy is sitting next to you.
Okay. Do I have some time left, Luke?
We have 10 minutes left, but otherwise, let's say you showed some of your things in that sense already. It's always great if it works. One more try.
Yep, but I'm going to be debugging. Oops, I think I'm not in debugging session. Sorry for that. So debugger is working, and that's great. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, yeah. I think I have some restriction on my network, so unfortunately it won't work here.
Well, let's then just leave it for that. Could I pose you a question?
Yep.
So Yuriy, you joined Global Mediator a year and a half ago.
Yes.
I more or less asked a similar question just now, but to put it in a little bit different way. So having 9 years of experience before you joined, or is it now altogether 9 years of experience?
Yeah, it's altogether. So,
yeah. So let's say 7.5 years when you joined in.
Yes.
What was the biggest step you had to take in this change of learning new things? What was the most difficult part for you to do?
It was English.
It was English. So content-wise, technology-wise, ERP-wise, moving from another ERP system into this, that was a relatively small step for you?
I can just show one more time those slide with that slide with 2x. So for me, it was just from the very first day, it was like it's completely the same systems, and of course there are some difference, like okay, the language type in posting routine, but it is only the new experience, and it is actually fun.
Yeah. And the English part was in this case very important because Global Mediator has an international group of customers. So that was a major thing you needed to learn to be able to work in the Global Mediator context.
Yes, I think this is 50% of 50% of the success. You have to somehow to communicate with customers, with partners, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, clear. I don't have any other question. There is no question on the list. Maybe people, so attendees, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the question window.
Can I just make a comment, Luc?
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, I've had the benefit of observing Yuriy over the past year and a half, and I think it's fair to say that in the beginning he was a little bit surprised over the size of the application that he started working on. That it covered a lot more ground than 1C did. So there's a lot more functionality to learn.
That's the bigger egg.
Yeah, It is a bigger egg. And then I think one of Yuriy's breakthrough moments was actually when he figured out that he could use Python to automate a rather boring task that he had in helping moving a solution to Business Central. I think you saved what 2 weeks of work or something just doing that.
Yes.
Right. So I think the breakthrough here was just realizing that it's a bigger egg, but it's an egg that you can apply a different set of technologies to. Mm-hmm. And in that frame of mind, everything, even a failed demo, starts to become a learning experience, and you move forward and you try new things. And I really think his Python experience was kind of a breakthrough in the sense that he said, I don't need to do everything the way everybody has been doing it for the past 20 years. Right? We can start playing around with new stuff. And that as I see it, moved his learning forward.
Yeah, clear.
Would you agree?
And this Python thing would be impossible to apply to the CAL part, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in that sense, let's say part of the success of your program of getting people on board and getting them up and running within a relatively short while, a couple of months, it is the thing that NAV has moved into Business Central, or the technology has moved from a closed system into an open world.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft has made business applications cool again, right? They're fun to play around with, yeah. And then they're also fun to learn. Yeah. And that just makes it a whole lot easier.
Yuriy, was that as a relatively outsider when you came in, an easy thing to see or to start seeing that?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you came in a year and a half ago in Global Mediator from another technical stack or partly other technical stack. Yes. Was it easy to see that actually in the technology you're using right now, that you already saw when you just joined in, hey, this is going to be promising. This is going to be a lot of fun, comparable what you have been doing in the previous years.
I think the main part here is not a technology, what you work with, but people. So if you have a great team to communicate with, to have any opportunity to learn and rest and work, so how to say, you definitely will succeed.
Yeah, clear. That's a very important part. I agree too. There's a question from Oksana Kronova. She's asking, if I'm right, Oksana is a she, but if I'm mistaken, sorry for that. What is experience regarding people with financial background? Is this mainly for Global Mediator, people with technical background, or would you also have people with only financial background? Or let's say, how important is financial background in the development tasks that they will need to do? Let's put it that way.
So basically, we consider our developers as the good mix of functional consultant and the technical programmers, because in NAV, having this business logic built in by Microsoft, then you need to know before you start developing what is the effect then from your coding to the functionality. So it's connected tightly just with financial understanding of the system, of course. So you can't really break it with your code because it's based on already written business logic. So you need to understand the financial effect on your coding.
What do you do in the ultimate is that you get a very experienced technical person in your hiring process, but they know shit about financials. Is that something that will then be a showstopper?
Not really. So of course it's easier. Yeah, it again depends on the background of person. But no, it's not a showstopper. No, it's possible to teach on this financial things as well.
Thank you very much. We're getting just over the hour, and we always tend to stop at the hour. I think we're at the end of today. Let me move to my slides for the end, and then, of course, I'm going to thank you all for having been here. As a last part of which I want to share is that there will be upcoming seminars. One will be on 2 weeks from now on July 16th, where I will be presenting a tool which helps you to get easily from functional test case definitions to test code. It's not going to do everything for you, but it's going to make you a hell lot easier than having it to write it from scratch. And we're already working on a program for the fall after summer. On September 2, Dimitri Katzen will do a presentation on using Python Azure functions to get insights from your application data. And on October 1, Tobias Fenster will have a presentation on traffic support for the NAV container helper. The information will be shared with you through newsletter and on our website. So spread the word, as I said so. Thanks you guys from Global Mediator to be our first presenters in the Areopa webinars world. Thank you for all attendees to be here, and let's join again in 2 weeks or in a couple of months. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.